Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. Welcome to your 13th class in essay course. And last time we have talked about a very important issues, the conjunction and the conjunctive adverb and some of the subordinating words for adverb, adjective, and clause, and noun clauses. Today, and our class is a little bit related to the previous two classes, because here we are dealing with punctuation. If you remember, in the last two classes I have advised you to pay attention to the use of punctuation, especially with some subordinating words and other conjunctive adverbs. Today we're going to discuss the comma, colon, and semicolon uses and how can we use them and when and where. Let us start first with a comma. In a series, we use a comma in a series. Place a comma between three or more items connected by a coordinating conjunction. لاحظ مثلا words John, Smith, and Jackson. John, Smith, and Jackson. هذا بنسميه series. More than two words, or maybe two phrases, or maybe two clauses. John, Smith, and Jackson presented in an interesting report. لاحظوا إذا we place a comma between three words, okay, connected by a coordinating conjunction. هذا هو coordinating conjunction, and we put comma between them. Also, we place comma between three or more phrases connected by a coordinating conjunction. The novel is available in print, on audio tape, and on video cassette. As you can see here. Also, we can place a comma between three or more clauses connected by a coordinating conjunction. لاحظوا, the lawyer argued that the weather was bad. لاحظوا, هذا phrase, that the weather was bad, comma, that the car had poor brakes. هذا other clause, and that the other driver was speeding, that the other driver was speeding. لاحظوا, we use comma, we put comma between three or more the clauses connected by the conjunction and, or but, or that, or whatever. Do not place commas between two items separated by commas, or between three items separated from one another by commas. مثلا, John and Smith presented an interesting report. هذا خطأ. ما بنقدر نستخدم item comma here. We do not place commas between two items separated by commas. Jones and Smith and Jackson presented. هذا كمان خاطئة. The correct one is John and Smith without comma presented an interesting report. John and Smith and Jackson both presented an interesting report. يعني ما بقدر أعمل John and فاصلة and Smith فاصلة and لا بحكي Jones and Smith and Jackson without commas presented an interesting report. Remember to place a comma before the coordinating conjunction joining the last two elements of the series. Otherwise, the intended meaning of the sentence may not be clear. وهذا حكينا عنها في المحاضرة الفائتة. مثلا, he appealed to the demonstrator, the deans, and the advisors. لاحظوا here, it's confusing. Are there three distinct groups of people? Demonstrators, deans, advisors, or two groups of administrators, deans and advisors? فلازم شو نعمل? He appealed to the administrator, the deans, comma, and the advisors. هيك we have now three groups of people. بينما في البداية كانت two groups of administrator. لما ما كان في comma. So it's confusing, okay? The smooth grave of the beech stem, the silky texture of the birch, and the rugged pine capture the eye immediately. Does this sentence refer to three items? The smoothy gray of the beech stem, the silky texture of the birch, or two items, the smoothy gray of the beech stem, the silky texture of the birch and the rugged pine. فهذه it makes the reader confused. So we need to pay attention to this one. We put commas between coordinate adjectives, place commas between equal adjective with no coordinating conjunctions between them. She bought a red fuzzy coat. The professor gave a hard final examination. Here tests do not work. Hard and final. أو بنحكي final, comma, hard. Okay? This is a long, short story. Tests do not work in the test. You should say long and short story. Okay? Or short and long story. Also, we put commas before fanboys اللي أخذناها المرة اللي فاتت between independent clauses and compound sentences. The war lasted for 2 years, but very few people supported it. لاحظوا but هذه بنعتبرها one of the fanboys ووضعنا قبلها comma مثل ما بتشاهدوا في هذا المثال. أيضا في عندنا هنا تحذير. Do not place a comma between two items with fanboys when one item is not a complete sentence. مثلا, the war lasted for 2 years but never gathered much support. Okay, so here we should not put comma because but does not join two independent clauses. هذا مش independent clause. Okay. So in this case, this is incorrect. So we need to pay attention if the fanboys connect two independent clauses. Okay? In this case, we have to put a comma before the fanboys. Otherwise, you cannot use the comma with the fanboys if they connect words, two words or maybe two phrases. Do not place a comma after the fanboy. The war lasted for 2 years, but very few people supported it. لاحظوا ما بنقدر نستخدم comma بعد الfanboys. Note, the comma may be omitted between independent clauses if a sentence is very short. The shooting stopped and peace followed. In this case, it's acceptable. Okay? You can omit, you can delete the comma in this case if a sentence is very short. A non-essential adjective clauses, non-essential participle phrases, unneeded adjective clauses and participle phrases from the rest of the sentence. مثلا ممكن هذه مثلا non-essential adjective clause. Mary Jones, who spoke at the meeting today, opposed the merger. هذه بنسميها non-essential يعني ليست رئيسية. هذا المقصود فيها. ليست رئيسية في الجمل. شو يعني ليست رئيسية؟ بحيث لو حذفناها وحكينا Mary Jones opposed the merger, الجملة is complete. مكتمل الجملة معناها. Okay? إذا أردنا أن نضيف adjective clause, we put it between two commas مثل هذه الجملة. عشان هيك سميناها non-essential. أيضا non-essential present participle. Mary Jones, speaking at the meeting today, opposed the merger. Speaking هذا حكينا عنها participle. في عندنا past participle و present participle. لو حذفنا هذه الجملة, Mary Jones opposed the merger. It is a complete sentence, and that's why we called it non-essential present participle. However, if we have a non-essential present participle, we should put it between two commas, just like the adjective clause. Also, we have non-essential past participle. أخذنا the present participle phrase. هلا past participle phrase. Mary Jones frightened by a mouse. And we put it between commas. Okay? Also, you can put it at the beginning. Frightened by a mouse, Mary Jones bought a car. Bought a cat. Okay? Bought a cat. Do not separate needed adjective clauses and participle phrases from the rest of the sentence. مثلا, the woman who spoke at the meeting today opposed the merger. The women speaking at the meeting today opposed the merger. The woman frightened by a mouse bought a cat. Also, introductory elements. We place a comma after certain introductory elements. Along prepositional phrases or a succession of prepositional phrases. إذا كان في عندنا جمل حرف جر أو يعني كان في وحدة بالتوالي. مثلا, in the solitude of that snowy December night we became good friends. لاحظوا في هذه الجملة هذه كانت نسميها introductory element. نستخدمها كثير في القصص مثلا في الروايات أو في القصة القصيرة كبداية if you are talking about the setting or the weather of the scene, maybe the setting of the scene. In the solitude of that snowy December night we became good friends. لاحظوا هذا ما نسميه prepositional phrase. مجرد ما بدأنا بهذه introductory elements we put a comma. At the end of the road, مثلا هذا مثال ثاني, at the end of the road on the west side of the train station an elderly people or couple sold produce each summer. Okay, فلاحظوا هذه كلها نسميها prepositional phrase function as introductory element, so we need to put a comma after it. With short introductory prepositional phrase the comma is optional. انت إذا كانت قصيرة في هذه الحالة هي optional. مثلا, on that night we became friends. لاحظوا on that night هذا prepositional phrase ممكن تحط comma أو ممكن تزيلها. Okay, أو in December two big snows ممكن نحط مثل نضع ممكن نضع in December comma أو ممكن ما نحطها. ليه؟ لأنه هذه الprepositional phrase ما كان طويل. Okay, why do we put comma? Why we must put a comma after a long prepositional phrase? Because if you don't put a comma after longer prepositional phrases, this may actually mislead the reader. We've talked about the participle phrases, like if they function as introductory. Speaking at the meeting today, the women opposed the manager. فلاحظوا هذا past participle كان introductory element وضعنا بعديه comma. أيضا gerunds as object of prepositions. Upon entering the room هذا الجرند اللي بيكون له ing, they function as object of a preposition, subjects, and sometimes object. هذا هنا object of a preposition. Upon entering the room, comma. لكن entering the room was a dangerous. هذا خطأ. ليه؟ Here the gerund is the sentence subject. فلازم تكون entering the room was dangerous. هنا الverb وهنا السبجكت، فكيف نفصل ما بين السبجكت والverb؟ هذا خطأ. لكن إذا كانت مثل هذه الحالة upon entering the room the police heard a gun، في هذه الحالة هذه نسميها introductory element which is optional. يعني لو حكينا the police heard a gun shot بدون ما نحكي upon entering the room the sentence is complete. لكن إذا حكينا entering the room was dangerous وفصلناهم هذه incorrect sentence. Which one was dangerous? Entering the room. So it was the subject of the sentence. Okay, it is not an object of a preposition. أيضا with adverbial infinitives, to buy that car you must pay a 500,000 deposits. مثلا, to buy that car a 500 deposit, a $500. هذا بنسميها adverbial infinitive. لاحظوا بلشت ب infinitive to. Okay, Also, we use commas to separate interpreters. Parenthetical expressions and transitions, like إذا حكيت in my opinion, unfortunately, moreover, of course, unfortunately, fortunately, as a matter of fact, indeed, for example, all of these are transitions. فafter transitions مثل ما أخذنا المحاضرة الفائتة, transition signals are always followed by commas. مثلا all in all, comma, in conclusion, comma, in brief, comma, first, comma, second, comma, وهكذا. Non-essential appositives. Appositives are renamers. يعني اللي هي مثلا خذ هذا المثال. Professor Jones, my history instructor. فالآن احنا نعيد تسمية جون. Who is John? My history instructor. Who is my history instructor? Jones. فهذا بنسميه appositives, renamers. نعيد تسميته بسياق آخر. Professor Jones, my history instructor, dismissed the class early. فلاحظوا, this sentence or this appositive is non-essential. لكن نفس نظام الadjective clause. If we use it in a sentence, we need to put it between two commas. Also, we use comma after direct address. مثلا, Joe, please hand me the newspaper. Ammar, please explain to me the lesson. Joe, so you are actually addressing him, تناديه بشكل مباشر. Okay? We also put comma with non-essential examples introduced by such as especially, particularly. لاحظوا نستخدمها أيضا مع هذه العبارات with these expressions. مثلا, Jones likes to read about dogs, especially, لاحظوا especially وين وضعناها, especially Welsh Corgis, وضعناها ما بين two commas in his spare time. مثال آخر, service professions, comma, such as social work and teaching, comma. فأي من الأمثلة اللي نستخدمها مع such as, especially, particularly, we put it between two commas. These examples help you. Why I put these examples? Because they help you to understand the uses of the commas. I'm not talking now about theories. I don't want to complicate it, but I want you to understand the uses of the commas, okay? Also, we put a comma with the expression of contrast. I want chocolate, not vanilla. لاحظوا هذا النفي استخدمنا قبليه. Comma, his wife, not his brother. لاحظوا, between two commas, needs the money more. Also, we put commas after dates and addresses. نضعهم بعد التواريخ والعناوين. مثلا, the house at 100 West 67th Street, فاصلة, Baltimore, فاصلة, MD هذا الرقم, فاصلة, was sold today. So, when a date or address with several parts occurs in a sentence, you should place a comma between each element and after the last part. مثلا, my son was born in January 5, فاصلة, بعدين السنة 1976, فاصلة, بعدين المكان in Chicago, فاصلة, بعدين ولاية Illinois, dot. So if you have a date or address, you need to put, and it has several parts in a sentence, you need to place a comma between each element and after the last part. Okay? لكن when the date or address has only one element or has its individual parts separated by words in a sentence, do not use a comma within or after the date or address. لاحظوا هذه الجملة. It was in January 5 that my son was born. She lives at 100 West 67th Street in Baltimore. هذه خطأ. If you want to correct it, you need to say it without putting commas. She lives at 100 West 67th Street in Baltimore, Maryland. So, when a date or address has only one element or has its individual parts separated by words, then you don't use a comma. Also, we use a comma before confirmatory question. اللي هي tag question. Place a comma between the confirmatory question and the statement that precedes it. You will be at the party, won't you? هذا بنسميه tag question أو confirmatory question. In this case, we put a comma. وهذه سهلة because you have already seen, or we have already studied that in a high school. We put comma after names followed by Jr. Sr. PhD. MD. For example, M. Jones Ph. D. هذه نضعها between two commas. We'll lecture on insect formations today at 4 p.m. Okay, مثلا Ammar Sultan MA will talk about commas today night. So we put these actually between two commas. Now we've done with the commas. Let us move to the other part, which is the colons in نقطتين. Colons announce. They add dramatic flourishes that introduce إما lists, quotations, complete sentences, and dialogue. Use a colon to introduce a quotation longer than one sentence. اقتباس. The attendant looked straight at us and said, لاحظوا بعد ما حكينا and said وضعنا نقطتين. ودائما الquotation يوضع between two apostrophes. Okay? Use a colon to end a paragraph that introduces a quotation in the next paragraph. لاحظوا كيف. After he won the hot dog eating contest, comma, he prepared to make his speech. بعدين بيجي عنا اللي هو الquotation. Use colons to introduce the text of questions and answers. مثلا هذه في مقابلة. Question نقطتين. What was your favorite Disneyland ride? Answer نقطتين. فإذا كان في عندك interview, you need to put after the question, أو مثلا بدل question مثلا ممكن يكون interviewer و interviewee. نقطتين. interviewer نقطتين. interviewee نقطتين. أو عمار نقطتين ومحمد نقطتين. If we have a dialogue between two persons, after the name of each person, of each actor, we need to put colons. So we need to use colons to introduce the text of the questions or answers. Use colons to show times. We finish our theme park tour at 1:15 a.m. أيضا to show time, or maybe 5:30 p.m. or a.m. Use colons to show citation. Citation means if you want to remember, for example, to cite the page of a paper, one paper or one book you have read. For example, go to exercise لاحظوا exercise 15 okay 15 page 12 فلاحظوا I show citation right here. Colons and capitalization. When you use a colon to introduce a complete sentence, capitalize the first word. هذه دائما مجرد ما استخدمنا نقطتين with a complete sentence. مثلا I have this advice for you. هذه جملة كاملة. نقطتين لازم تكون if مش هيك. لازم تكون ال I capital letter. وهذه لازم تنتبهوا لها. ممكن in the exercises you may face some sentences like that. So you need to know that when you use a colon to introduce a complete sentence, you should capitalize the first word. Colons and capitalization. When you use a colon to introduce an incomplete sentence, do not capitalize the first word following the icon, colon. مثلا, Mickey Mouse has two things mighty mouse lacks: charm and his own empire. لو لاحظنا الفرق ما بين هذه الجملة والجملة هذه اللي استخدمنا فيها الكابيتاليزيشن، لاحظوا if you are going to هذه complete sentence, so you use a colon to introduce a complete sentence, you need to capitalize it. لكن هنا ما كان في عندنا complete sentence. These are only phrases, so we do not capitalize it. مثلا the hot dogs were missing a key ingredient. نقطتين chili. لاحظوا ما عملنا capitalization ل chili. أما semicolons, we use the semicolon is not quite a comma, not quite a period. It is a break in thought, but not a complete stop, more like an elongated pause. وقفة قصيرة. Use a semicolon. هذا أخذناها طبعا في المحاضرة الفائتة لما شرحنا قضايا ال conjunctive adverbs وغيرها. Use a semicolon to connect independent clauses and avoid run-on sentences or comma splices. We went to Disneyland. We had a great time. So we have here independent clause and we have here independent clause. So we can use a semicolon to avoid a run-on sentence. He ate 6 hot dogs. He also got a stomach ache. فلاحظوا هذه جملة مستقلة وهذه جملة مستقلة استخدمنا ما بيناتهم السيمي كولن. لكن ما بنقدر نستخدم كوما. إذا استخدمنا كوما لازم نستخدم one of the conjunction words مثل and. اوكي إذا استخدمنا نقطة ما بينهم هذه لازم تكون capital letter وهذه لازم تكون capital letter. Okay. Use a semicolon to separate internally punctuated independent clauses joined by a coordinating conjunction. Skipping the Cinderella parody, which was much too long, we went to the haunted mansion and we were able to walk right on without waiting in line. So here we use a semicolon to separate internally punctuated independent clauses joined by a coordinating conjunction. لاحظوا هذا ال coordinating conjunction هذه عبارة عن internally punctuated independent clause. Okay, يعني خلال هذه الجملة كان خلال هذه الفقرة كاملة أو الجملة الكاملة تخللها اللي هو هذه اللي هو ال independent clause. طبعا باستخدام ال coordinating conjunction بنستخدم قبلها اللي هي السيميكولن. خلينا ناخذ المثال الثاني. After finishing those hot dogs, a feat in itself, he got a stomach ache. and then he went to the hospital to get his stomach pumped. Use a semicolon to separate items in a list that also include comments. مثلا, Donald Duck brought his favorite lunch, a sandwich, chips, and crackers, his nephews, Who, Dewey, and Louie, and his favorite girl, Dizzy. In order to win the contest, John starved himself for 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, wore extra large clothes, size 24 jeans and XX shirt, and drank castor oil. So here we need to use a semicolon to separate items in a list that also had a count list قائمة that also include comments. And here we have actually a group of questions that where you can use the semicolons. So you need to insert the proper punctuation marks in the following section. So, and each section is titled with the punctuation to be used. If the sentence is correct, put C next to the number in the margin. So I will leave these semicolons, these exercises. I've given you a lot of examples during this class. Try to go back to these examples and try to connect these exercises with what we have discussed during this class. Also, we have here some exercises for the columns. Try to insert the columns in the correct place. For example, if we do the first one, the applications for employment at the manufacturing plant ask the following. لما نحكي ask the following question, شو لازم نعمل؟ هنا columns. How old are you? How have, and so on. Okay? Do not miss the following items. Okay? Do not miss the following items that will be on sale during the first week in June. اللي هن ice skates, skis, snow, يعني قائمة. Okay? When she went to camp, she had to take. So we use columns if we are going to list, or if we are having a series of things, Our school board provides the students with لاحظوا الآن, with the free books, book cover, a notebook. فهذه كانت مثل ما تشوفوا a series قائمة. فنستخدم الكوما قبل السيريز. Okay? Please do this by yourself. أيضا هنا الكوما stars sparkle brighter on crisp winter nights. A robot cannot do your homework, walk or lift a huge loss. This one is correct. هذه صحيحة الجملة. لاحظوا كان في عندنا 3 أشياء مذكورة: homework, walk, or بعدين lift, huge. فهذه correct الجملة, ما في داعي لأنه نستخدم الكوماز. Hedgehogs look like porcupines, but they are related to the moles. عندنا أول شيء هنا coordinating conjunction, نستخدم قبليها comma. Jeremy prefers to cook shellfish, for they are easily to clean. في عندنا coordinating conjunction. Yes. شو هي؟ for. نضع هذه بنسميها الفان بويز، نضع قبلها comma لأنه احنا عرفنا if the coordinating conjunctions join two, if they join two independent clauses, we have to put comma before them. مثلا, fastening cushions on top of seats, they made chairs easier to sit on. I will leave this one for you. And try to remember that we need to put commas between independent clauses. For a great handing mass, write to Dr. Filson, U.S. Geological Survey, 1000, or survey, right here. Sunrise Valley, right here, and then it's a region, and after that we have the states, and this is the zip code. Okay? So please try to do the rest of these examples by yourself. Try to study the commas where we can put them in sentences. Try to do more these exercises. Try to memorize the rules of the commas, how to use the commas, when to use the colons and the semicolons. Hopefully you have got the benefit from this lesson. If you have any comment, or if you face any problem in understanding the uses of commas, semicolons, and colons, please try to contact me at my email aalmani@kfu.edu.sa. Thank you so much for listening, wa assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.